sometimes we are our own worst enemies. The parts in us that genuinely make somebody fall in love with us are the parts that we actually hide out of insecurity. Maybe a YouTuber told you to hide this part about you that guys don't like that. And because of that, you might think that you're actually making progress, but in reality, you're taking away what makes you human. You're taking away what men genuinely love in a woman. When I was younger, I struggled with women a lot, man. And one of the things that I hid from women was my weird side. I hid my weird habits. I hid my love for spirituality. I hid my love for NLP and just random shit. And how I came across was incongruent. I came across as somebody who has something to hide. But what I realized though is that those parts that I was actually trying to hide were the ones that women needed to actually fall in love. And most likely you're making that mistake. You don't know how men think because you're not a guy. An example is like women who get a Brazilian butt lift, who get fillers. I don't judge them. But what they tend to notice is that they tend to attract a certain kind of guy. A certain kind of guy that doesn't offer genuine long-term relationships. And they end up getting what they actually didn't want. So today I'm going to tell you what are the traits that men truly love in a woman, and most importantly, so most likely you're presenting yourself the wrong way, but also you're not aware that there are parts in you that are extremely lovable to the right guy, right? No one's completely unlovable. You're just unlovable to certain people, and you got to know who those people are, right? So we're going to start with this video. And don't forget, people, thank you everyone for purchasing my paintings, man. Y'all are pretty cool. You guys have been purchased. You guys haven't purchased this one yet, but these paintings, the ones that are done by me, we're gonna go out to $1,500 to be honest with you, because they took too long. But like I said, if you guys want paintings done by my students, you guys can check out these also. These oils, and they're $300 each. And they use the same method that I paint with. So you're not going to get a decrease in quality because they're my compositions. They're just painting it with my method and under my supervision. So those are $300, and it's a good way to get something that is done under my supervision. All right. So with that being said, let's begin with the video. So the first thing that Bronx mode people like is hot and cold. They love the drama. They absolutely love the drama. Now, why is that? Well, because drama makes them feel alive. A lot of these people are addicted to dopamine. You gotta understand, hot and cold behavior is addictive. It's addictive to be hot and cold, but it's also addictive when they do it to us. Why? Because there's an addiction in letting out our emotions without thinking. There's an addiction to telling them what we feel. Fuck you, that's why you have a small dick anyways. Fuck you, that's why you're a broke ass nigga. Fuck you, that's why you're dusty. And then taking it back and saying I'm sorry. That hot and cold, that on and off is addictive. It's highly addictive. And toxic people cannot get away from that. It's like honey to a bear. They are attracted to that. And the reason why is because studies show that releasing anger uninhibitedly and saying what we feel and not having to hold it in is pleasurable. So a lot of the times you get into these relationships because they allow you to act out our most insane self with somebody else. But then you're able to go back and reconciliate and have anger sex, right? Like reconciliation, poom poom. And that is like a drug to these people, right? So when you have that hot and cold, they're going to be attracted to you. They just are. And this is why when you apply these strategies that I teach and it works really well, a lot of the times it might work really well because they're toxic, right? If you do the hot and cold strategy, a guy that's not toxic will not like that. But don't worry about it, man. We're going to, you're going to keep learning this, right? So the next thing that they love, and again, if you're toxic, this is what they love. If you're not hot and cold, they're going to find you boring as fuck, and they're going to leave you. And if you're insecure enough, you're going to think that you did something wrong, when in reality, they were the problem, right? The next thing, oh, fuck. I don't know what the hell that B is. Bronx mode. Timberlands. Timberlands. Bronx mode. So I was referring to hot and cold, actually, to hot and cold behavior, where one day they're hot, the next day they're cold, right? More of avoidant. right? Inconsistent behavior. Behavior that makes you say, what am I doing wrong? Do they like me? Did I push them away? Do I look wrong? Why are they acting cold all of a sudden? Behavior that you're just unexpectedly cold. And usually these are avoidance. You gotta understand, avoidant and anxious attachment and ambivalent, not anxious but more ambivalent, a lot of the times they're difficult people to deal with because they get hot and cold. And if you're insecure enough, you're gonna stay. You're not gonna leave, you're gonna stay. And you're gonna have drama, but that drama makes you feel alive. You gotta understand, when you feel empty on the inside, drama is how you feel alive. It's like a drug, right? So this one is Bronx mode. It comes down to fighting, right? Stabbing, right? Criminal records, calling the cops multiple times. And then once the cops come, you're like, once the cops come, they're like, wait, I don't want to press charges. I don't want to press charges. Come on, man. It's crazy. And people genuinely live that way. And you know what's crazy? They love that. They love it. They may not say it verbally, but deep inside, in their hearts, they love that. The next thing is they love someone who's submissive, especially controlling guys. They love a submissive woman. They love when the power dynamics is tilted in their direction. And this is the problem with people like that, is that they usually, it turns into domestic type of shit. Right? It really does turn. It turns into a lot of 911s. It turns into police, and it's not a stripper. Like, a lot of shit goes crazy when you date someone. It turns into one-sided relationships. It turns to sucking a lot of dick. Right? Oh my God, Father God is a perp. Shut up, Melissa. My fault. Okay? And this is when somebody doesn't want you to stand up. And if actually this type of people, if you do manage to stand up for yourself, they're going to walk away. They love the submissiveness. Why? Not because of you, but because of of the power trip that they get from it. Right? It's pretty much power tripping. Right? Power tripping. And it's not fun. I've dated women like that, not for too long. Jesus Christ, right? And dating a woman who's really submissive, you kind of don't respect them, and I'll be honest with you, you feel horrible on the inside. You're like, you know what? I don't feel like this is right. This doesn't feel right. Like, honestly, I felt like it didn't feel right. But you know, what can you do? Can't save everyone, right? I'm a fucking godfather. Violence is a spawn of Satan. Shut up, okay? We're gonna go to help now. The next thing is what they love about you, but when they're not toxic, right? One thing is the masculine. They love the masculine. The masculine is how guys relate to you. The masculine, let's sit down right here. The masculine is what guys tend to use to get along with you a little bit more, right? It truly is. A woman without masculine energy, I can promise you the relationship with the guy the connection isn't as tight. You need some masculinity. It's actually what I wrote right here. It's the masculine. This is the comfort, the relatability aspect, right? But also it's your inner strength, okay? So it's not just that you are more stronger, right? But that men relate to women. All right, there, people. Okay, there you go. Right? Men relate to women who possess a little bit of masculinity, people. Right? But when you don't possess that masculinity, what will happen is that a guy has a tough time respecting you. And also, he has a tough time relating to you. Okay? It's the masculine that causes a guy to be able to hang out with you all day and talk to shit. But when you are way too feminine, it's very difficult for a guy to relate to you in that way, okay? It's honestly, like, it really does feel that. Like, even when you're talking to a woman and she has a masculine energy, like, you could genuinely feel like you could just relate to her more. Like, she doesn't get offended as much, so you can say the jokes that you want. You're able to say inappropriate things, so she's not gonna be like, oh my God, my fucking pearls, let me clutch them. Yeah, like that's the worst thing in the world, when a woman is easily offended. And usually that's just because you're not in touch with your masculine. Like y'all, like some women, not y'all, but like some women, need to develop a backbone and not be so easily offended by everything. Like, it's wild as hell, man. It's wild as hell. So now, what we have here, the masculine, and the next thing, which is very important, it's the vulnerability. And we talked about this yesterday. Vulnerability. The vulnerability is what men tend to fall in love with in a woman. Now, why is that? Well, because it's the softness, the desire to help, the desire to comfort you, the desire to be your protector that makes a guy emotionally invest in you more. But when you don't have that vulnerability, a man cannot be a man. He needs you to have some place, some area in your life where you need and depend on him. He needs that. He needs to feel needed. But when you're a terminator, when you have a lot of these terminator women that they don't need a man and emphasize on it, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, as a guy, we need somebody to need us. You need to leave some space for us to help. It's like, goddamn, leave something. Like, let me do some shit. Right? And the problem is that a lot of women don't do that because they're afraid to come across as weak. Right? They're afraid. A lot of women don't want to embrace their masculine because they're afraid that it looks too masculine. That you lose your femininity. You know, guys are not gay. Oh Lord, if I show a guy that I cry, if I show a guy that I feel depressed, this and that, it might turn him off. He might think I'm crazy. No. As long as you get to know him in a slow way, over time, those traits become endearing. And the guys will want to help you. They want to be there for you. They're not going to want to see you be miserable. Only a toxic guy will find your vulnerability. They won't fall in love with it. They're like, oh, vulnerability, huh? Let me take advantage of that. So they're not going to fall in love with that. They're just going to use that to take something from you. Right? And the next thing is, outside, now you have the masculine, the vulnerability. Now the next one is the coldness. This is the inevitable moments when a guy crosses your boundaries, which will happen. Us guys are really good at that. And so this coldness is needed. You don't need it all the time. You don't need to go full Terminator mode all the time, but you need that coldness. Because every guy's gonna test you. And you need to have that resting bitch face when you're telling him off and when you're telling him that you didn't like what he did. You need to have that resting bitch face. It's the coldness that turns a guy on when he sees that side of you the first time. You're like, ooh, oh, she's spicy. Oh, she's good. Oh, I like her. Oh, she put me in my place. Ooh, man, she's a fighter, right? It's not that you have masochistic desires to be put in your place as a guy, but that you have the potential to go batshit crazy if you disrespect me. You have the potential to walk away if you fuck up. Right? The next one is really important. The nurturing, which is the feminine energy, right? Remember that story that I told you guys about this woman who was with a guy, obviously, and is actually on TikTok where you can watch it. It's actually really interesting. He was actually looking at he was a electrician, right? And he was looking at his rope, not his rope, but like the wire. Like electricians have like a wire, like a in the form of like it's in a wheel, right? And they use that wire to work, obviously, right? Like the wire, right? They use that wire, so whenever you need extra wire, you get off of you take it from that wheel that you have. Well, what happens is that wire sometimes can last decades. Okay, they can last decades, and because they can last decades, a lot of times as an electrician, when the wire is over, you're like, oh my God, it's been this long already. Like that happens a lot. Like I was studying to be an electrician when I was a kid, when I was younger. And so he was just looking at it because in his mind, it represented that, he's getting older. And then she was like, rather than comfort him, that dumbass woman was like, oh, you're going to cry? And he was like, you know what? Never mind. Right? That to me, that's a woman that is not in touch with her feminine energy. And so you're way too masculine. Guys rely on women to help them get through the day, to comfort them, to make them feel strong, to make them believe in themselves, especially if he's behaving well, right? And so a man will fall in love with you because there's going to come a point in time where he does need your help, where he does need comfort, where he does need somebody to tell him that everything's going to be okay. But if you're not comfortable enough with vulnerability, if you're too toxic, well, then you're not going to do that. But this is what a man will fall in love with, you know? It really is. It truly is. The last one is, to me, the most important one, and that's your silent presence. Your silent presence is pretty much you just being yourself. You not doing anything to impress them. You just being there and just him falling in love with your presence. Toxic motherfuckers are not going to do that shit. They're going to need like, oh, you got to challenge me. Oh, you got to keep me interested. Oh, you're so boring. I need a challenge. I need a banter. They need constant stimulation, and that becomes too much acting, too much of that. You want to be with someone where just yourself is enough for them, where you don't have to cause drama. And this is what good guys that are not toxic, not Bronx fucking motherfuckers, this is what good guys actually fall in love with. The bad guys will say, oh, this woman is boring. This woman is lame. This woman is vanilla. I need some drama. Some women even say they need some drama. Right? And actually, we're going to add one more to this actually. Is that these types of men right here, okay? I'm going to put this right here. They fall in love with pain. Any form of pain. If you pull away, if you say this, if you say that, if you insult them, they will forgive you. They will forgive you and they will retaliate. But the battle, the constant battle, they secretly fall in love with that. You know, it's a real thing. And you have to be careful. Whenever you being disrespectful gets the person to like you more, don't do that. Walk away. Because they're going to do that back to you. And it turns into a negative situation. All right, so let's summarize this. Bronx mode, they fall in love with hot and cold. They fall in love with drama. They fall in love with completely one-sided relationships like submissiveness, right? And really, they're really loving you because of the power you give them. They don't really love you. They just love the power you give them. And they fall in love when you inflict pain. And the way they come back is that they're very good at forgiving. They forgive you, but they also get revenge and they don't forget. The next thing is that the non-toxic guys fall in love with the masculine. They fall in love with your vulnerability. They fall in love with your coldness because they respect it when they sense that. They fall in love with your nurturing side. And above all, they fall in love with your silent presence, okay? Now, what's the takeaway with all of this? Let's go over here, people. Listen, man, all right? You got to be honest with yourself, okay? What do you want? Do you really want a healthy relationship or do you like the drama? A lot of us unconsciously like the drama. A lot of us actually need to heal on the inside because, you know, a simple, boring relationship is not enough. And I don't think that's right. And I say that for myself, all right? I have to grow in that. And what I've learned is practicing meditation in my life has been the one thing that has actually mellowed me down, that has actually gotten me to be comfortable with a slower paced relationship. I'm not there yet, right? But now I'm cultivating those traits that I need to attract that type of person, right? I don't go out as much. I never played games with people, but I did hide my emotions from people. I did hide that I cared about things. I did hide how I feel, right? If you have been inconsistent, rather than telling you how it makes me feel, I just pull away. Well, that's me hiding. I don't want them to think I'm needy. Who cares? You are a human being. We got to stop acting like the bad sides, the embarrassing parts of us is what people are gonna not like. The truth is, people will dislike you more if you hide that. People will like you more if you show those signs because you come across as more uninhibited. You come across as more trustworthy. You come across as more confident. You know, and this is the thing. If somebody finds your vulnerability lame, it's because they're suppressed themselves. It's because They genuinely feel they want to do that, but they can't themselves. And one more part is your weirdness. Your what makes you weird. You gotta understand, people don't fall in love with the representative that you show to them because it's tailor made. The most human part about you are the things that are underneath your social, your public persona. The things that you might find weird, the things that you might find too different for other people to understand. And when you're in the heaven section of this weirdness is actually very attractive because it's your stamp, your own personal stamp. And this, guys who are in the Bronx section, well, they don't like that. Why? Because they're not in touch with reality. They don't know that that's how people really are. And so they'll want you to be a certain way that's like more tailored, like the Instagram models, where it looks like it's more predictable, it looks normal. But the problem with that is that they're trying to fit you into a hole that you can't fit. And so these guys will continually try to date women who present themselves the best. But a lot of the times those women can sometimes be crazy. You don't have to walk around with your weirdness, like flaunting it. But when they see it, it's okay. Trust me, if they like you, if they're meant for you, they'll fall in love with it. If they're not meant for you, they'll think you're weird. But again, you're not weird because that's just how humans are. Humans at their core, when no one's watching, they're weirdos, man. And so when they don't like that about you, I can promise you, you don't want to be with them. They have no self-awareness because that's how every person is on the inside. But also, you got to also be able to show that you're also willing to walk away through your coldness, right? If you go full-blown manipulation mode, the guys will love you, but not the types of guys that will give you a happy relationship. Which is nothing wrong with that. Look, if you're young, honestly, for younger people, go hard and cold. Go Bronx mode. Like, seriously. Like, you're getting a lot from it. But you're only getting short-term things, and hopefully you don't learn the habit of toxicity. Because that's truly at the core of it. Like, people just learn to be toxic because they want full power. They want to completely detached. They want to gain power. They want the person to be completely submissive to them. They want them to lick their asses. And the problem is that you end up not respecting them. But that becomes your lifelong habit of always monopolizing the power because you feel insecure to even give the person a glimpse of your true side. Don't be afraid, man. The more you hide, the shittier your relationships. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget, check out my courses for courses like this. I will recommend, let me see, this is about love, natural chemistry. Check out natural chemistry. That will be the course for this one. It's a 6-week course that I made for women who are in relationships, who want to go from relationship to a deeper relationship, who feel like they can't set boundaries in relationship, who feel like the power imbalance is way too tilted in the other person's direction. This course will literally bring balance back into your life. And if you don't believe me, you know, there's testimonies in the website. Y'all know I wouldn't lie to you, man, you know? Anyways, let me know what you guys think of this and take care. Bye-bye.